Okay, so we said that we're going to be doing this, talking about the how-to and what is the importance of having many tables. In the SIS that you are using, all of you, there are many tables, and we cannot have only one table in a database because we have many things. For example, if we only had to have one table, that table will have so many fields, it will be very not easy to manage. Plus, there are going to be a lot of repetitions. Like what, for example? We'd like to have the information about the students, the information about the teachers, the information about the majors, the information about the courses within the major. And also, in the courses, we have many sections. We have the courses that have a certain number of sections. So there are a lot of different information. If you just put them in one block, it's not really really convenient. It's like having many files and put them in one folder. No, we create folders. Inside these folders, we put other files. We organize them that way. So that's the same idea. We need to have a lot of different tables. But we don't create tables like they're independent from each other. No, they are related to each other. And I just would like to show you how we can do that in Excel, in Access, sorry. So how to do that, I'm going to take like the example of, let's say, a student that has a major, and maybe a student that has a major, and then there's some extra additional information about the student. And I'm going to add some tables just to explain this kind of things. So I'm going to go to this design view. It's going to tell me what is the name of the table. I'm name it, for example, students. And in the ID, let me put as a number. And then, okay, let's have, for the students, we have the name. The name is a reserved word, but it's okay. So short text. What else? Phone number, for example. Phone number, a text again. Well, it's a text better, because if I would like to have 050 and something, whatever, and to put some spaces, it's better to have a text. City, date of birth, and I don't like to put spaces because it's better not to put spaces. Just later on, when we were going to be working with some queries, what we call them queries, we're going to see what they are. It's better when we type them, it's easier not to have these spaces. And if I want to show them, you remember, if I want to show them in a way, I can still do it. You remember that I can change this caption? Remember what does caption do? You forgot. Let me show you. Okay, so this we have, like, you can see the ID, name, and you have phone number. And let me double click here so we can have this auto. What is it called again? Fit or fill? Auto fit. And in the quiz one, you have some of you were confused about this auto fit or auto fill. So don't get it confused. So this is auto fit. All right. So you can see that it shows date of birth. I want to show something else. For example, here I'll leave it inside the field name is date of birth, but in the caption I'm going to write it with a space. Date of birth. Caption? Date of birth, the day you were born. You came to life. I mean, you came out of your mother's belly. Because you came to life before that time. So this is the date of birth. This is what we call it. So if we save, and you see it shows without those underlines, I can just change the way it looks and internally how it is saved for convenience. But this is not the issue now. We want to have this information about students. These are just things about students. We can have their phone number, their address, their other things, whatever. Now, these students, they have, let's say, majors, right? So inside of the college, the university, we have many majors. So I'm going to create another table. So I click on this create, and in the table design, I'm going to create a new table. I'm going to call it like this major field. In the majors, every major will have, like, let's say, a code, and let's make it like that, whatever, and then a name, which is the major name. I'm going to, show some examples on what to put in there, and let me save this and call it major or majors. It has no primary key. I forgot to do it. And do you want to create a primary key? I'm saying no, because I would like to select it myself. And then this is going to be my primary key. And generally, every table should have one primary key just to be able to uniquely identify one record. So now let's go back and try to put some data. For example, the code is CS for computer science. And what are the other majors that you know of? Well, I didn't do it out of English. Well, okay, but we don't, in the specialization here in the male branch, we don't have English, but we could have something, for example, English. What about what is that? Math, but it's not. There's not specialization yet to be in math. In this college, we have, for example, ME, mechanical engineering, which is the. And then we have, yes, the CE, and then in civil engineering. And then we have MIS. MIS stands for? Of Information Systems. And then we have business, which is business. They have business something, I don't remember. But anyways. Sorry? Well, we don't have in the male branch, but in the female branch there is a specialization which is called English. Yes.
It's called engineering. E&D engineering.
Yeah, but I don't want to have the same, both of them, because they are different. So if I put engineering, let's say ENG, both of them, and then come here, put ENG. Oh, see, it says I cannot do this because ENG sense is what's used for English, so I cannot use it for there. And because it's a primary key, exactly, because it's a primary key, I cannot allow these repetitions. So I'm just going to press escape twice, so it's going to be as it was before. To come back to how it was before. So anyway, this is our majors. These are our majors. Now I'd like to have also students, but how can I link students to know each student what's his major? What I need to do, I need to have a common field. There's a field that needs to be in common, so I can just have more information that will be, I mean, the link between the two tables. So what is going to be, for example, in this case, my link? I'm going to write something, for example, here that says major, and it's very important that these two have the same, the field that is going to be in common, it has to have the same data type. Not the same name, it doesn't matter, but it should have the same data type. What I mean here, for example, I would like this code to be in the students. So what is the data type of this code? It's short text 255. I didn't change it, but anyways, if I changed it, I would have used the same thing here. Major, short text 255. So that's the same thing, the same data type should be applied for both. Now, what this will allow me to do is that if I try to, for example, add a student number 1, name Muhammad, student whatever, all things, I can put something in the major. For example, I can put CS, and student number 2, Abdullah, and then it's going to be, I don't know, ENG. Yalla. So we can have these things, right? However, then is this enough? No, it's not enough. What happens if I do, for example, something like I just entered a major that doesn't exist, and the database allowed me to do so. And there should be a way to prevent this from happening, because mistakes can happen. We know we are humans. Somebody can make just a mistake and then can type, instead of, for example, CS, he typed CSE, and then there's no CSE. If you go to what is the major CSE, I go in the list of majors. Do I have CSE? No, I have CS and CE. Is it like CE or CS? Which one? I don't know. So in order to prevent this from happening, there's something called relationships in our access, I mean in the database. So these relationships will allow me to, now what I would like to do, before I can put any value here, it has to exist here first. So I'd like to make this verification happening, that before it allows me to add any value inside this field over here, it should check that the value exists already here. So how to do that? Well, let's first, let's go back to something that exists, so it will not complain. Because if I leave it like as it is right now, it's not going to work, because for many reasons. And now pay attention, because you're going to be seeing these kind of mistakes and you will not know what to do. So I'm going to leave this as a problem. The problem is here. I'm going to leave it so you can see the error message that you might get if you're trying to then apply this verification while you are having some wrong data inside of your tables. So the first thing that we need to do is something that can be found in many different places, but let's say we're going to find it here in database tools. In database tools, we have relationships here. And this relationship is what will help me make sure to check that I cannot put any value in a specific field unless it exists in another field. And this is the relationship. This is the job of the relationships. Once I click on it, it shows me those tables. These are the tables that are opened. If by mistake I close it all, how can I get it back? This is the button, Show Table. It's going to show back. And you can just click, for example, on this one and add it, and the other one and add it. If you can, or you can also just click on this one and press delete to remove it. You can add more than one at the same time, and you can add them more than once. But then you need to know what you're doing. I don't want to use that. I'm just going to be delete, 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 so I can start from scratch. So I'm going just to add those two. Now it just shows me, as you see, the table structures, the table's structure. So this is the tables called major that has the code, which is the primary key, and another name. I don't see the data types, I just see the field names, because that's what I need to know. Now I would like to link this field over here to this field over here. So what I should do, I should click and drag and drop. If I drag and drop at the right place, it's going to see in the students, I'm going to link the major with the majors, the code inside of these majors. If I made a mistake, for example, it might happen, I just put it here and it shows me name now instead of major. I need to, you click on the name and you can change it to whatever you want. Okay, so you can select and keep the mouse, the left mouse click pressed until you reach the column that you want to join it with, and then you release. When you release, you just make sure that you have the correct tables and correct fields. So now what I have is the code in majors. The code in majors is going to be linked to the major in students, and that's what I want to do. Is this enough? No. I need to do something else, because if I just click on create right now, I can just see a line, and that line says, well, it says that there's a line, but it's not activated because it did not complain with anything yet. But let me just close. Do you want to save? Yes. And see if this is going to be acceptable. If I type CSE, is it acceptable? Yes. It's still acceptable. Why normally we said that these relationships should prevent me from doing these kind of things. So if I'd like to do it, I need to change this relationship. In order to change it, I just right click on this line. By either I can just change it, or maybe I can delete it and do it again. It's just up to me what I need to do. So let's say I'm going to do it again, just to be sure that you do it. And then when you have this, I just click now Enforce Referential Integrity, this checkbox over here. Maybe later I'm going to explain the other two, but this one is what will make the verification. Enforce Referential Integrity means it will check that I cannot put a value inside the field if it's linked to another field in another table, if the value does not exist in the other table. That's what it does. Now if I try to create, it will tell me two things. First of all, the database engine could not be locked, could not lock the table student. Why? Because you cannot, every time you see this, you have to close this first. Now I cannot close this because I need to close this first. So you need to close this student and major, then you can create the relationship. But now it doesn't complain about the tables that are open, but it complains about something else. It tells me that data in table students violates referential integrity rules, which means I have something in the table student that doesn't respect the rule I'm trying to put. And what is the rule that I'm trying to put? That everything in this major should be existing in code. And if I go to student, you can see that this is not existing in the code in the majors. I don't have CSE, I have CS or CE. So that is why it is complaining. Now I need to fix it. And once that I fix it, very important, just don't fix it and stay selected. If it stays selected, you go back to the relationship, it will not change. You need to get out of there, and then this is to make sure that it's confirmed. Press enter or just get out of there, click somewhere else so it can be saved. Now I'm going to close it again, so I can do the referential integrity and select it and enforce and create. Now I have something that shows some numbers. You see this 1 infinity. When 1 is always associated when you have a primary key. When it's not a primary key, you're going to be seeing something like this, infinity. More discussion will be on why later on, maybe, inshallah. So now I'm closing. Let me close this and then go back to the students. And then you can see the students, if I try to put CSE, it will tell me you cannot add or change the record because a related record is required in majors. So it didn't find this entry in that major, so it told me you cannot add this value. And that's this referential integrity. Whatever I enter that is not in the list cannot be shown there. Okay? So that's why this is kind of something that is called, while this is called a primary key because we have it, right? This is called a foreign key. A foreign key is a relationship, is a field that makes a relationship between another table. And that's what we'd like you to practice for today. What I'm going to show you now is the exercise that we need to do. In that exercise, actually we have a lot of different things that we're going to be doing. We're going to be creating 2 tables. So you're going to name the file first exercise 5 and put it in your folder. We're going to create 2 tables. The first one is called employee. The other one is called salary. And my advice to you, don't put the values until you create the 2 tables and then you link them with the relationship. Just in case you have some problems, some data was not entered correctly, it will not work, then it will give you some messages and so on. But you can still put the values and then put whatever you need to do. So this is the first table. Notice that this emp ID is the primary key. And we have another thing, is this, we have another emp ID here, which is another primary key. So what I would like you to do is to create those 2 tables respecting these rules, and then you enter the data for both of them, and then you're going to link the 2 tables using emp ID, which means emp ID from the table salary is going to be taken and dropped out on emp ID on the table employee. And that's what we're going to be doing for this exercise for today, inshallah. The next things we're going to be seeing is some queries, and we're going to be talking about these queries. But we need all this data. I know some of you might say, well, there's so many just for the testing of the relationship. But the data here, these records are going to be used when we're going to be working with the queries. So we need them. So just type them all. Any questions before we start?